Okay, so what I'm going to go over in this video is problems 1, 2, and 3. We're going to evaluate each expression, and then we're going to name the property used in each step. And remember, we're really going to try and think about these properties to figure out how can we get through these problems and simplifying as quickly as possible. So whenever I look at number 1, first thing I notice is that my orders of operation tell me that I have to do these parentheses first. I have to do 1 divided by 5. If I do that, that's going to give me a decimal, and I definitely do not want to go through and try working through these decimals and doing all of this mental math in my head. So I'm going to step backwards away from my normal routine, and I'm going to think and notice, well, if I look at this whole piece all together, I notice a pair of multiplicative inverses. So 1 divided by 5 is the same thing as 1/5, and it's being multiplied by 5, and then I'm being multiplied by 14. So again, right away, I notice that I have 1/5 times 5. I know that if I multiply those together, I'm always going to get 1. So now I have 1 times 14. And my basis behind doing that, I'm going to name the property used. Those are my multiplicative inverses. Now I notice that I'm doing 1 times 14 to keep 14. So the identity of my number 14 is not changing. That is based on my inverse property of multiplication, or multiplicative inverses. I'm sorry, I completely wrote that wrong. That is my identity. Your identity is staying the same. Of multiplication. Okay, I'm going to use a different color so we can keep all of these straight. Second problem, -6 plus 6 times 1. So I noticed 2 things here that might be sticking out to me. 6 times 1, very easy to do in my head. You may also be noticing your pair of additive inverses, -6 plus 6. However, keep in mind that my orders of operation still always apply here. So I can never take that addition first. I always have to make sure I'm doing multiplication over here. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and do that multiplication. I get 6 times 1 is 6. That is from my identity property of multiplication. Bring everything else down. Now I can go ahead and do that addition. So I have -6 plus 6. That's going to get me 0 from my additive inverses. And now for number 3, I have a long expression to simplify. 4 times 3 times 15 times 1/9 times 9. So right off the bat, if we're thinking normal rules, we think orders of operation, move left to right. So that would make me do 4 times 3, which is easy, that's 12. But now I have to think in my head, what's 12 times 15? And then I have to think about multiplying that by 1/9 and then by 9. So that gets really messy. So again, this is where we want to think about, well, what properties do I know? I know my associative property tells me that I can multiply whatever I want first. So I can throw parentheses around this term that I think is going to be the easiest. And I can multiply that first. 1/9 times 9, not only can I use my associative property there, I can also recognize that those are multiplicative inverses. So my first step is going to be to multiply that, and I'm going to get 1. So now I'm going to bring everything else down. So I'm going to write my steps up here because I don't have room on that left. I have multiplicative inverses. I'm running out of room here too. Okay, so now I have 4 times 3 times 15 times 1. Well, this is easy. 15 times 1, get that 1 out of there. So that's going to give me 15. And then what did I use there? That is my identity property. So now I have 4 times 3 times 15, which, okay, we can sit there and we can do the scratch work and we can try and do that in your head. And some of you may be able to do that pretty quickly, which is fantastic. But keep in mind that we have these properties that allow us to do this a little bit quicker. So what I want to do right now is just rewrite it so that I can pair up some easier numbers. So I'm going to change the ordering here, and I'm going to write this as 3 times 4 times 15. So when I'm changing that order, remember that that's your commutative property. Reason that I went ahead and changed that order is because now I can group my 4 and my 15 using my associative property. 4 times 15 is easy in my head. I know that that's 60. So now my last step is to just do 3 times 60, which is 180. So I used my associative property. I'm running out of a lot of space here. Again, really noticing that we have these properties here just to figure out how to make that mental math a little bit easier. Commutative lets us rewrite it so that we can figure out different groupings.